So a lot of people say that more books should have been blog posts, but you say the opposite, that more blog posts should be books. What do you mean?
The short of it is, I think many books perhaps should be posts in the sense that uh, there's not enough substance or depth in it. And so I think it's just a mismatch of the kinds of books that are being produced and the kind of books I want to see produced. I think many bloggers and writers, online writers who have emerged in the last 10, 15 years have this diverse range of interests and topics, and they're willing to go from topic to topic on blog posts. And they could write these really weird, interesting books, which is what I attempt to write. I think my writing is sort of weird and I hope interesting, but it's wide ranging. I like to jump around to different topics, different perspectives. I like to quote Alan Watts and then the Bible and then my internet mutual. I think when people start in their head seeing, oh, I need to do a book, they strip all that out and they just like run the playbook. They say, "Oh, I need to simplify this. People won't understand this. I need to meet the average reader who doesn't understand any of this." And I just don't do any of that. The good thing is I'm a self-publisher, so I can just make up my own rules. But I think when people are part of the system, the goal of the system is to uh, produce books for the mass market, and the mass market wants something fundamentally different than what I want and what the readers I want to reach want.
I think recently you said, as you were going through a lot of the books you've read this year, unintentionally, the majority of them were self published.
Yeah, I
Why do you?
think this could just be I have a bunch of friends who are self-publishing. I think self-publishing has become a lot more popular, especially with people that want to write multiple books. I think people who have had experience with one book, they then might want to write about a different topic. Publishers basically don't want to support authors throughout a career who have wide ranging interests. They want to find one author that wants to keep hitting the same notes over and over again and just pumping that out over and over again in different form. That's what the industry exists for. But if you have those wide ranging interests, eventually you need to go self published. I think some of the ones that stand out, I mean, uh, Lawrence Yo's Inner Compass. That book couldn't be published in traditional form. It's 100 pages filled with his illustrations. He wrote it on his own terms. There we go. Um, Husk by Nat Eliason. Really fun book, but totally different than his last one. He's writing in a new genre with a new type of audience and had no proof that he could succeed. His book's awesome. It's like really interesting, really fun read. Other people I'm thinking of, trying to think. There's so many. I mean, Justin Moore's Sponsor Magnet. He's having so much fun with that. He's getting excited about like being able to gift it easily. you have all you have all the books. So this happened
So
with you too. Like why are
yes,
why are you reading all these books too?
yeah, it's a great question. So I actually, as I'm in the process of writing my own book, I just like keep a stack of like self-published books beside me. Um, so like
Hell yeah.
obviously, I've got yours, I've got Lawrence's, Jay Yang. I don't know if you know who Jay is.
Yeah, you can just do things, his book
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Um
um, yeah. I've got Jay's, Lawrence's, yours, Justin's, Jessica's, a couple other people,
Eric
and
Jorgensen's book, The
yeah,
Almanac of
his is
Naval.
yeah, his yeah.
Uh Sachin Benny wrote this book of essays called Thinking About Leaving. It was and all these books are like sort of weird in that the formats and structure of them are unexpected, but they're not bad. They're just different and weird, and that makes them much more interesting for me as somebody that's read hundreds of books. I've probably over a thousand at this point in my life. Like I just can't read the same style of sort of formulaic popular nonfiction book. Those books can crush and they serve as a certain kind of reader, typically entry level reader into nonfiction, but they're just not what I'm looking for at this phase of my life.
So I watched your episode with Lawrence, which was great. um, But one of the things in that, I think Lawrence says something to the effect of, it's a small book or something like it's only 100 pages or it's only 120 pages. You're like, it's a book. Don't discount it, right? Like it is a full book. And for me, one of the reasons I do think that more people should publish their own books and go from like writers to authors is, you know, I love your writing. I love Lawrence's writing. Lawrence was an early influence for me, like when I first started writing online. So I'm grateful to be able to call him a friend now. I've had him on the podcast too. And I have shared your all's articles, but there's just something different about being able to gift a book or to have a book on a bookshelf, right? And even like, yeah, again, like Lawrence's is a good example because it's pretty short. And it's like he's probably not all of it. I know there's some like original content in here, but Lawrence has longer articles on his website. But it's just so much different, man, when you have like a physical book that you can give to somebody or display. That's why I think more people should write books.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think also it's a way of taking your craft more seriously. And it may not be a path you love. You may decide I like writing newsletter, blog style posts. But for me, it was a way to push and challenge myself. And one of the challenges of self employment is you don't have a promotion to aim for or a company where different kinds of work are available to you where you can go do that and change what you're doing and challenge yourself. You have to create these for yourself. And so you can either aim for more money, which is just boring for me. I'm just not motivated by money. I've never have. Or you can be like, here's the thing I'm good at and I can do like synthesizing ideas. Let's do a book that is so challenging and it was so fun for me. And self publishing meant I could do it quicker and write more books. I've sort of been in a holding pattern for the last year, but I'm going to start writing another book this coming year.
What do you think is the biggest struggle people have from going from a writer to an author?
I think it's exactly in your phrase. It's uh, considering themselves an author. I think one advantage I had was I still don't care about the title of author. Like being an author, like big capital letter author, trademarked, influencer, like serious bestseller. I don't use these terms really. I write. I write most days. I enjoy writing. That's it. It's just something I like doing. To me, it's the joy of the activity, but not glorifying that. I think once you start seeing, like, oh, I want to become an author, it's you're attached and aiming at a story of an idea of what you think you need to be and how you need to be. And the author world is so weird. Like authors get really caught up in thinking about what other authors think and following the techniques and tactics of other authors. And it becomes this big world of just mimetic rivalry for no reason. Like, I don't, it doesn't matter what any of these people are doing. I only care about people that want to read my stuff. That is who matters. And so I write for the weirdos that need to find a different way. And so that's what I think about. Mostly, I look at other authors for clues about what not to do because I think the entire publishing industry still has this stranglehold on people's imagination about how you're supposed to do it, what a book is supposed to look like, how it's supposed to feel, how it's supposed to be marketed. And most of these ideas are just either on a lag of they worked 5 to 6 years ago, like James Clear's podcast strategy. People are just running it back over and over again. The diminishing quality of that strategy is so much is just has like taken away so much power from that strategy. And so I'm always just thinking about like how do I reach more readers? How do I keep having fun? How do I stay energized with continuing to write things I actually care about? And for me, that is literally no different than when I before I published a book.
That identity piece feels like for me, so I quote unquote came online during COVID, um, toward the end of 2020. I had very briefly kind of dabbled in writing on Medium back when Medium, like, actually kinda paid you to
Yeah.
write. Um, so I'm thankful for them for that because like, I made, like, $100 or $200 from writing. I'm like, "Holy shit, like, this is super cool." But I remember early on thinking, "I'm not a writer," right? I didn't even get to, like, to the author thing, just like, "I'm not a writer because a writer is somebody who does X, Y, and Z. I write, but I'm not a writer," right? And that was such a mind fuck for me, like, just identity-wise, because like, I had been, like, publishing my writing for months and months and months before I ever started to feel comfortable calling myself a writer.
Well, what is that? Are you just trying to, like, punish yourself? Or I think I mean, you're the person I need to ask about, like, why do you do that to yourself? And I'm curious because I see so many people do this. I say I was on a group call with 30 people from Taiwan last night, and this woman asks a question about how do you actually learn new skills? I feel like I'm not good enough to become self-employed. She said, I've been running an Instagram account for 8 years and I really enjoy it. It's really fun. She has 30,000 subscribers on Instagram. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm terrible at Instagram. You're actually really good at this and you enjoy it. I hate Instagram. I'm like bad at it and like don't know how to do it. And so you could literally coach and teach me. You have all these skills. And she's like, oh, I never thought about that. And so I think for her, she was putting me on a pedestal or other people as proof that she wasn't good enough. And so I think we do this over and over again. Uh, I mean, I still do this as well in terms of just creating these artificial limits that sort of keep us safe. But yeah, what would you call that sort of behavior? Is just like putting people on a pedestal?
There's there's like a romanticizing it, like, there is an aspect of that because I mean, it's like the whole, like, Walden thing, right? Of like, I'm just gonna, like, rent a cabin or go to a cabin in the woods and just write, and, like, my magnum opus will just manifest in 3 weeks or some stupid shit, and it's like, that's what we think it means to be a writer, and or we think a writer is like you said, like, a New York Times best-selling person, they've got all these, readers and followers and revenue and all this other shit, or there's like, I am not a literary writer, therefore I'm not a real writer. I am not like nobody's going to like teach my books in a literary, literature class. That's the only type of real writing. Or I'm not a mega bestseller. That's the only type of real writing. I'm not that. I don't do that. I don't have those big wins yet. Therefore, I must not be a writer or an author.
Yeah. Do you feel like a writer now?
So yes, but it's actually gotten weird because like now like I primarily identify as a writer, which kind of fucks up the whole like entrepreneur thing because it's like I am an entrepreneur, but first and foremost, I'm a writer in so much as I love to write. I write every day. Writing
Yeah.
is a
That's
cornerstone
awesome.
habit for me. I may not publish every day, but I write every day. And then like that kind of started to become a thing of like, well, am I more of a writer than an entrepreneur? Because in order to be an effective writer, you have to, be able to like make sure shit's like bringing in money. And it's all identity shit, right? I remember, put it this way. One of my friends, his name's Chewy. His name's Nick, but he goes by Chewy. He's big in the jujitsu like YouTube space, and we were visiting Chewy a couple years ago, a year or two ago, and he was like, "So, how's your fledgling business?" I was like, "What do you mean? I've been in business for 4 years. Like, it's not a fledgling business. Like, I've been doing this for 4 fucking years." He's like, "Yeah, I've been in it for 15. How's your fledgling business?" And I'm like, "Well, it's okay, like, I'm not as far along as I would like to be, but, it's going pretty good." He was like, "Where you're at right now is way further than I was when I was 4 years in." And it's just like this comparison shit, right? So in, like, psychology, there are these things called upward and downward social comparisons. And upward
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
comparison is when you compare yourself to somebody you perceive as being higher or better than you. If you only do upward social comparisons, you constantly feel like an imposter, a phony, a fraud, because it's like, oh, well, these people are better than me. They're further along. But if you only do downward social comparisons, that's where you come across as like a narcissistic prick of like, I'm so much better than everybody else. Look at like how good I am. So like
Yeah.
there's a balance of like comparing yourself today to who you used to be to see all the progress you've made, but then also looking at how far you actually have the potential to go. There is a balance there. But I think a lot of us constantly compare our current selves to somebody else who's like 6, 8, 20 years ahead of us. And that's why we feel inadequate and like a fraud a lot of times.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think what I'm aiming for is just a satisfying and fun and energizing life. And so when I look quote unquote up at more successful writers, I don't really see many people I like actually want to be. And so I think I've always been in this weird situation where I've always felt a bit lost. And when I did find someone I actually was inspired by, I never wanted to be them because I get so much joy out of finding my own way. I think I'm always like, oh, I love that one way they do this. I want to like make that my own. And so I think that's been really interesting. But I think so many people who are like quote unquote successful are still at war with themselves. And I see this all over. It's it's the especially online writers, it's the language people use. It's around this it's this very subtle language around like uh people that aren't willing to put in if you're not willing to put in the hard work, you deserve your fate of being a loser. It's this language of like starting with the idea that you're a loser. It's validating people's insecurities and then giving you the out of that. I find that incredibly manipulative, but it also signals to me that, oh, wow, this person is theoretically very successful, but actually still at war with themselves. Because I see people that are starting out and I just see someone like myself and I'm like, oh, wow, like they're doing their best. They're I'm not like better than these people. It's just like I do have a lot of empathy. Like often the most successful people are at such war with themselves.
So, one of my favorite things about you, and I don't know if I'm going to describe this well, is you wh- when somebody like when somebody meets you, like you're hanging out, it isn't just like a meet and greet, but like when they get to meet you and hang out with you, you can be, and I mean this in the absolute best way possible, off-putting, not off-putting, but off-balancing because and
Yeah,
here's why,
yeah,
and
I know
this
what you
here
mean. I know what you mean.
because like you're not a yes man. Like you don't just like play the game or like talk the game. You're just like, no, I don't want to do that. Or like people are be talking about like all this ambitions and shit and like bragging. You're just like, no, like I didn't make that much money or I did this over here. Or here's, no, you should totally like get a side job if you need to. Like pay the fucking bills. You got to stay in this long term. And it's so refreshing, but so disorienting is a better word. So disorienting when you're used to that hustle culture, bragging, like just that constant, like whatever that is in entrepreneurship and even in writing and things of everybody putting on a facade, you don't. And it's straight up disorienting in the best way possible. And I fucking love it. That's dude, like again, like you were an inspiration for me, like way before like we like met and became friends and shit. But and then like when I met you, I'm like, this motherfucker's disorienting because like he doesn't follow the typical scripts. He is so authentic and so in his own fucking lane. It's it's amazing. How do you do that? When the world is you talk like mimetic shit. When the world is like that, how are you the way you are?
Yeah. So this is the whole reason I left my former world. I was in a world of a very scripted success, very scripted kind of a success. And what I mean in that is there were very narrow paths to succeed. And I sort of backward decoded it and figured out how to play the game. The thing is, as I started to become the game, like learn the game, don't become the game, as I became the game, I realized I didn't like myself. And so I got some really powerful pieces of real world experience that said, that does not work for me. That is almost guaranteed path to becoming a person I don't want to be. And so my entire path after quitting was about doing literally the opposite of that. I think the second thing is the more you start making choices that only you can make and are really true to who you are, the more you do become in your own lane. That also can have a lot of downsides because it can be very lonely and disorienting for me. I think this past year, I just launched this premium hardcover of The Pathless Path. This is something other people aren't really doing in our world of people I know and other writers. And I spent a huge amount of money in ways that I hadn't in the past. And before putting it out there, I'm just like, what the hell am I doing? And so I'm not 100% confident all the time. This is the thing people often mistake when they see outward success. They assume confidence because a lot of people are performing confidence or seem confident because they're excited about what they're doing. The other side of my excitement, which a big part of my journey, and you'll probably understand this as well, the other side of excitement is the uncertainty. And so um, I think early on my path, a lot of my timidness or afraid of having bigger goals for myself was me being scared to like unfelt excitement. I was scared to really feel and unfelt exuberance and so now I have excitement and I'm very optimistic. I'm very pumped about what I'm doing. I love all the things I'm doing. I'm willing to promote myself a little more comfortably now. But the other side of that is just this anxiety, this uncertainty. Wouldn't say I have like latent anxiety that's always there. It's just like, man, what the hell am I doing? This is kind of crazy. I don't know how I'm going to make money in a couple years, but that's okay. That's just life. These are things all humans deal with. That is not me. That is not all of me, but that is part of me.
Yeah, fear of uncertainty is something I've written about, something that is a very, very common thing. And over the years, what I've realized is uncertainty is agency in disguise. Like it's the freedom of choice. The fact that you are uncertain means you have the freedom to choose which direction to go, which thing to do. Because when like certainty means you don't have a choice. Certainty means like this is the only way, this is the best way, therefore no other way is really viable or as good. I don't really have a choice. Like clearly this is where I'm going to go. Or like you said with your, past career life stuff, that path, right, default path shit, that was pretty certain. There wasn't much autonomy. There wasn't much choice or freedom. I
Yeah,
like
I like
uncertainty
that
at this point in my
definition.
life.
Yeah, I think it's a learned skill and a learned capacity. And so most people can resonate with the idea that zero uncertainty would not be an enjoyable life. All the best things in life we do have uncertainty. We go on a date because there's uncertainty of, oh, cool things might happen. We get married because there's the uncertainty of, ooh, we might build a great life together. We go on a vacation because there's the uncertainty of what cool stuff might happen. And so what gets people stuck is one, they don't have experience stepping into things that are beyond that level of scary or familiar fear, right? The fear of going on a date, eventually people can get over and say, oh, this is worth it because having a good relationship is important. I think what holds people back from doing things on their own is that they often don't have stories of how to do it, right? How do you launch your 30 set? How do you launch your like third experiment after two have failed working on your own and you're not making any money? There aren't like movies showing how that plays out in dramatically positive ways, right? But there are movies of relationships turning around and like leading to happy lives and things like that, and examples in our life. And so often we're just missing models But seeing it as uncertainty is not a problem to be solved. It's it's sort of like a human it's a fact of life, and then it's something you can decide to practice or not practice. And so I really approach everything as practice. And I'm just somebody, I think I have a higher level of need for adventure, and to have a sense of adventure and excitement in my life, the right amount of uncertainty for me is not at the level that the average person demands.
Well, like, one, I think a lot of people are waiting until they feel ready before they do a thing because of
I
uncertainty.
still
Like,
don't
I don't
feel ready. I'm 8.5 years in.
that dude, that's my point, right? Like, you never feel ready. Like, the only time you might feel ready is after you've already done the thing and you're gonna do the thing again, because then you have a track record, right? But, like, again, like, professional musicians, athletes, all these other people, like, they do the thing and then they feel ready to do the thing again, right? Like, that's why they practice so much, because it's like, "Oh, I've been here before. I know I can perform because I've already performed." But so many of us in, like, creative and entrepreneurial endeavors, we say, "When I feel ready, then I will take action." And it's like, well, then you're never gonna take action. You're never gonna hit publish. You're never gonna launch the thing. And, we when we think about uncertainty. Uncertainty is just part and parcel of being human, because, like, all of human history is just an exercise in navigating uncertainty. Like, religion, every
Right.
philosophy, every spiritual path, all of them
Just
fundamentally are
faith.
about, yeah, all of them fundamentally about, like, how do we deal with uncertainty? Well, if you follow these rules, you'll go here. If you break these rules, you'll go here. Certainty, right? Or as long as you adhere to, like, these stoic concepts or this Buddhist meditation, like, here's how to calm down. Here's how to whatever. All of it is, I don't know how to navigate life because there's so much uncertainty. Just give me parameters. Your whole thing, though, man, is like pathless, right? The pathless path. A pathless path sort of intrinsically doesn't have many, if any, parameters. How do you, like, where do you pull from to navigate all this uncertainty in your own life?
I think one is there's no I think it's a releasing of a destination. There's no arrival that's going to fix me or solve me. I think at this point in my life, I'm 40. I'm pretty comfortable with who I am and I like who I am. I know what I like, I don't like. And I see that as a continuous process. I want to keep learning. I love exploring new things. And so for me, the last 20 years entering the real world has just been a process of quitting tons of stuff that don't fit my life and learning more and more about what I can handle, what kind of people I want to be around, what kind of work I want to do, what kind of environments I want to live in. And I've done so many things. Even before I quit my job, I had 5 jobs and went to grad school for 2 years, over 10 years. And I lived in 6 different apartments. I lived with 25 different people. In college, I did 2 different majors. I was always part of different groups, volunteering for different things, always doing fun projects on the side, coding, learning new things, joining new groups, trying new things. And at this point, I've just done so many different things. I'm always putting myself in environments to try new things, and it's very comfortable. I've sort of found my groove. I don't know if I'm going to make more money in the coming years or succeed more or be seen by success of other people. But I know I have a set of activities I enjoy that at least I can do while my income declines or savings run out and like have fun in the short term. And I have people I want to spend time with. My wife is very similar to me, if not weirder and more comfortable with uncertainty. This may have something to do with her ADHD and not being able to like accurately assess time well. Um, but yeah, she worries about money less than me and worries about the future less than me. So for us, we wake up, all our days are random and weird. Today, our daughter wake up at 6. I'm talking to you at 10. So the first 4 hours of my day, we're just hanging out with them and playing with my daughter. Um, I actually have no idea what I'm going to do after the call today. I'm meeting them later at 4 to go to like a Christmas village, but I literally don't know what I'm going to be working on today. I'm sort of just flopping around these days. I just finished a big month of like a lot of promotion in Taiwan and sharing my premium hardcover book. But yeah, it just flowing through the days and it sort of just keeps working, and when it's not working, I'll change pace. But it feels very normal to me. My life is very boring. I don't go out at night. I go to bed early. I get a lot of sleep. I spend a lot of time with my family. I work 4 to 5 days a week, 5 to 7 hours a day, and that's pretty it. It's we do live in a bunch of different places all over the world, and that's crazy to people, but for us, it feels very normal and actually easier because we have way less stuff and we just sort of pack up and move, and it takes a couple of hours.
Well, the other thing I've noticed with you is it seems like you don't accept default scripts at face value. So, for example, I think you had talked about like traveling with your daughter when she was super young on like planes and how like, or even just like how most parents basically say, I cannot live my life because I have a kid now. So we can't travel. We can't do that. Oh, we can't take a long, plane ride. We can't go on vacation like we used to. And you're just like, no, we're just going to live our life and our kid's going to be with us. Right. And part of that may be like culturally, right? Like between you and your wife, like from different cultures and things, but you yourself, you just don't accept all that bullshit. You're like, well, let me see what it looks like for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about I want to find out. And so finding out on your own is a time consuming and costly process. Right? So it'd be way easier if I just had I call this question people and answer people. Question people are incredibly annoying. They're like me. They must ask the questions and experiment with life and see what's actually true. Answer people are like, "Oh, you're just supposed to get a job and buy a house in the suburbs and just do that and sort of complain about the normal things you complain about." It might be really nice to be like that, but I don't think I was born that way. And so it actually feels much more comfortable for me to always be exploring the frontier of my life. And it's travel with a kid is hard. It was actually very hard, I think, from like 1 to 2 years old. And so we just didn't really do that. We stayed in Austin and we had a lease. But yeah, it's not that hard. It's Our daughter adapts incredibly well, and so if she wasn't adapting incredibly well and we weren't adapting, we would just change strategy. I think that's the thing people miss is we can just I'm not ideologically committed to this idea of we need to travel the world with our daughter. It's well, let's do this, run it as an experiment, see what happens. And we can either do more of it, stay the same, or stop doing it. So almost everything is reversible. I can go buy a house in the US and move to the suburbs literally next week. I mean, our Airbnb is ending on Tuesday and we're staying at another place for 2 weeks, but that rent is $400. We have no other payments or obligations outside of that. We can change the strategy completely next week. And that's not scary to me. That's just yeah, that'd be super easy to do.
Just your not even just tolerance for uncertainty, but almost like actively optimizing for it. I
Yeah,
think
well,
would terrify
it
most people.
is, but I didn't have enough uncertainty in my life, early in my life, and that led me towards cynicism and just so much dissatisfaction. And so I'm just correcting to get back to closer conditions that feel good for me. And so I must find out. I think Yeah, me and my wife, we must step into the unknown. Um, but I don't know if we're going to continue to keep traveling. We're we looked at this year of moving back to Asia as well, a year of exploration. So we moved back to Asia in April. We then spent 5 months in Thailand. We lived in two different locations. We learned a lot about living in different places, being in expat communities, looking at international schools. Angie's father was helping us with daycare. How does that work? Are there trade offs there? We then came back to Taiwan for the last 3 months. And then next year, we are participating in the Traveling Village with 20 other families going to three different countries in Vietnam, Taiwan, and Korea. So what we're testing with that is, oh, could we enjoy this travel if we had other families and it was sort of an ongoing thing? What does that look like? What can we learn from other families doing different things that give us different ideas about raising our kids? Or do we just come back to Taiwan? We actually found a school here we really like for Michelle. How could we get involved and engaged with that? But everything is an experiment. The the value of experiments compounds over time because you gain trust in the experimental approach to life. But if you've just been employed in a job for many years and been living in the same home for many years and you have this sort of like structure and rhythm to life, doing an experiment seems really risky. But now it's just for me not running the experiment seems risky because we just learn so much and we grow and evolve every time. And it's sort of aligned with our vision of life. As soon as we met, we sort of knew we were going to be together pretty quickly. But we also had this moment of like, oh shit, there's a default path for dual country couples of I'm from one country, you're from the other country, which is basically you pick a country and then just live the standard path in that country. We did not want that. We wanted to design and make decisions about our life such that we could be location independent. So we could spend months every year in Taiwan and then months every year in the US. We're not there yet. Our kid our daughter is still young. We want future kids. It's probably going to take us a few years to like find that rhythm, find the structures, find the foundation in one country, the places we can stay in the other country. It's very hard money wise. It's very hard coordination wise. The plane tickets get more expensive as you have kids. I don't know if we're going to pull it off, but that's sort of like the direction and the aim of our life. And then everything flows from that location independent lifestyle and flexible lifestyle and being more with kids and stuff. So that dictates how I think about work, life, where to live, how I spend my money, all these things. And so we have a vision, we work backward from the vision. And so when you understand all that, it makes sense. Many people just don't have a different vision of their life. Their vision is like, I want to live like everyone else. And so if that's your vision, that's awesome because the world is set up to deliver that to you.
Optimizing for Uncertainty is a book I wish you would write.
Maybe that could
It's
be
a
the
tongue in
name.
cheek thing. Yeah. Because
No,
usually
I'm gonna think about that.
optimization is about like hustle culture, grinding, certainty. But you legitimately optimize for uncertainty in so many areas of your life.
Yeah. Um, I had a book called so this is the draft I had before I published Good Work. It was called um Li- Life I forget what it's called. It's a phrase from John Stuart Mill. It's called uh Living the Experiments or something. Or I was going to call it the Creator's Field Guide and it was basically going to be this like all the recipes and mental models in my head that make my life feel sane. Maybe I'll send you the draft, and you should just tell me if I just like publish it cold. It's pretty rough right now, but that could potentially turn into something. And I've been doing a series recently called Wise Agency on my newsletter. It's like 10, 15,000 words, and it's a little more about this, but it's very hard to communicate to people. I think the only way I think people who have spent time with me in person sort of get it, but they're still like, yeah, I feel like you're a different beast.
No, yeah, no, send it to me. I'd love to read it. But like, here's my thing, man. The people who really resonate with you and your ideas either already wanted to kind of pursue their own thing in
Yeah,
some
yeah.
way, or found the concept really refreshing, right? You talk about how you're responsible for so many people, becoming unemployed and shit, right? And I think that so kind of like how Lawrence did like the Inner Compass, he was kind of like the guy to do that because he came from a real place of authenticity and just, very candid with a lot of those things. He's the guy to talk about that. I deeply think that you are the person to talk about not just navigating, but again, like optimizing, fully embracing uncertainty because uncertainty is agency. Uncertainty is the freedom of choice. It is flexibility. It is the rejection of defaults and things. And not just the rejection of defaults, but the active acceptance of what is the thing you want to pursue and what you want to do, your own pathless thing. I think you are the person to write that, especially because you are not a prescriptive guy. So even if you wrote something with like prescriptive nonfiction elements, it wouldn't come across as like rigid prescriptive stuff.
Yeah, and I'm very skeptical of that stuff because I think most of it is fake and
Exactly. That's what I'm
formulaic.
saying. That's why you're the dude to write it. Yeah.
It's not real because what's often happening with online writing is people land on ideas that are uh, viral but not true. So the idea is very resonant and exciting, or sort of validates someone in a yeah, I feel seen, but they're often not true. And I think what I try to do in my writing is go deep inside myself until I land on something that feels true. So, true in the sense that I've sort of like distilled and broken down the idea and gotten the language to the point that I can say, like, that is the most true version I can put forth of like breaking and synthesizing an idea now down. So, one is trading certain discomfort for uncertain discomfort. And I have this equation that goes like certain discomfort plus coping mechanism. So certain discomfort is my boss is an asshole, but he's predictably an asshole, and I can deal with that next week. Versus uncertain discomfort. Uncertain discomfort is all the scary bad things that might happen if you were to leave that situation. And so I had this idea in my head for years, and so I would test it with people in conversations, and they would be like, "Yes, that's true." And so the one thing I found that if you add a sense of wonder and possibility to the uncertain discomfort, suddenly people start explaining away all the bad things that will happen. Well, it's like, well, this might be risky, bad things might happen, but I'm really excited about what might be. And so it's this different stance in life. And so then I start thinking through, okay, when has this been true in my life? And so then I can write like an entire section exploring this and going back and saying, okay, in the years before I quit my job, I was experimenting in these different ways and I had this different energy showing up in my life. And I never had proof I could make money, but I had proof of a different kind of energy showing up in my life. And the question of what might be became so exciting. But like the internet will give me more clicks and more attention, and the idea will go more viral if I can say, well, if you follow this framework and launch a business in this way, you can make a lot of money. That's actually a much more effective way of communicating the idea. And if you tell people they're losers or they haven't grinded hard enough or haven't implemented your system hard enough, you can ignite a lot of early bird people who are really harsh on themselves and get them to pay you a lot of money. But it's not true. It might be true for some people. Some people can whip up tons of enthusiasm from pain and succeed. But the reality, like sitting with myself and being like, yeah, I did have this sense of wonder and hope and possibility, but also I was extremely scared and nervous and uncertain at the same time. And I felt bad about myself. At the same time, I also felt good about myself. And so I'm really interested in like what is the you literally have to get down to like a poetic way of framing this at a word level because poetry is the only thing that can transcend things at a word level to make things resonate. And so I'm this is why I love writing so much because writing is a portal to a different way of being for me. I have to get to the deepest truth at a poetic level and then sort of communicate it. And so when many people first are exposed to my ideas, they're like, Paul's full of shit. But I'm mostly just not speaking to them because they're not open. They're not open to this possibility of a different way of being, a different way of receiving information. They're looking for the hacks, the how to, the playbook, right? And the playbook can work, but it often doesn't give you a new lens on life. That was a very indirect way of answering your question, but sort of like how I think about this.
Well, you kind of fit in like the post productivity space, right? Meaning,
I'm
and
like
I,
pre-productivity though.
well, so
I've
I
never been productive.
not you, right? But I'm saying like the people who come across your stuff. Because like I have found I kind of fall into the same thing. One, I'm not a productivity dude, I'm not a productivity guru, whatever. Some of it is very effective, but like
I
a lot
love
of people,
automations and stuff. Like I love using technology to help me, but I don't want to do more stuff. I want to be like more efficient with the work I'm doing and then have a lot of extra free time.
yeah,
Whereas
well,
like
so like
most productivity stuff is like these people work 80 hours a week and they want to just do more in 80 hours a week. They don't actually want to cash in the time for anything.
yeah, and like what I mean is a lot of people who find me, for example, they have taken all the productivity courses. They've done the masterminds, they've hired other coaches or whatever. They've done all the things. And then at a certain point, they've realized, oh, fuck, an Eisenhower matrix isn't going to help me with my fear of success. Or like the Pareto principle isn't really helping my imposter syndrome. Right. And
Or
they're like, I,
help me love myself or
exactly.
yeah.
Dude, like literally today, I was talking with the founder. He was like, I don't know how to get out of my own way because my sense of self worth comes from my sense that I am useful. So when I don't feel useful, I feel worthless, which means I can't rest. I can't slow down. I can't be calm. No matter how much I build and no matter how like material success I have internally, I'm a fucking mess. Right. And it's like, you know how to build systems, you know, all the tactics and strategy shit. You come to me after you've done all that shit because you're like, there's got to be something more. I did everything I thought
Yeah.
I was supposed to do. I did the default thing and it didn't fucking work. Right. And I put you in a similar category of like people come to you because like, hey, I did the default thing. I rose through the ranks and I was fucking miserable. And nobody is really trying to like shepherd or just be not even necessarily like a guide or a guru, but just somebody who's like, hey, here's another way to think about this. Like I put you
Well
in a
the
similar category.
yeah, the big difference with me is never cared about finding out. Many people have these hunches that these things won't save us, but they say, "Well, let me get rich first and then I can figure those things out or find out." I sort of like looked ahead and was like, "Yeah, I don't even want to get there first. I want to leave earlier." And so I think I had this sense that the inner knowing was the growth opportunity rather than the outer game. Part of this was I also went through a lot of the same struggles people did early in their career. I think I, as a young man, was totally incompetent emotionally and insecure with women. So basically, a dude in his teens, right? All of us, we all went through the same thing. And so, what I was really good at school. And if you're really good at school, you can get really good jobs. And so, there's a pretty obvious formula that occurs to most men with abilities of doing like getting good jobs and stuff. Do good jobs and people will love you. Um, the cool thing is this actually works in the sense that you can boost your confidence and you can become more skilled and capable in the world. And you can start attracting people because of that. There is a real leveling up, I think, but you can never cure the underlying avoidance pattern of what you were running from. And so this is what I discovered almost immediately upon quitting is that oh, I had become a lot more confident. I had become a lot more skilled. I had become better at relationships. I had become better. I had become more emotionally savvy, but I had never actually solved uh I or I had never left my entire life strategy of chasing prestige to try and make the discomfort go away. So I became more confident with women, for example, and became more confident about like, oh, I can achieve things. I can put in effort and do things. I was not super insecure with those things anymore. So I solved those. But I did not I was still running from the discomfort. I wanted the underlying discomfort to go away. So I was always leaving jobs and jumping to the next thing. And so I never felt satisfied with life. And so when I quit my job, I saw all these people in the creator economy basically running from the insecurity inside of them, trying to chase success, trying to chase approval. And I've just been like, well, did that before. I'm not going to do any of that. And so I sort of corrected and just rejected all of it. It's really funny. Our friend, Kei, um, we got to know each other early on the path, but he sort of thought I was like a bit naive because and he's told me this, it's funny, we've talked about this. He's like, "Man, I feel like I" he's like, "Early on, I thought you were, like, pretty naive and silly, like, to reject all this money, like, you didn't really have, like, savings like I did." And, like, he couldn't see all the inner work I was doing behind the scenes, all the sitting with myself, all the discomfort I knew I had to work through, and not working was a way for me to practice that, and so I'd talk about that. And also, he was projecting his insecurities of not having enough onto me. And then I think over the years we sort of like merged, which is like, oh, I do need to make some money. And he's like, oh, Paul actually was doing a lot of the same things I was doing, trying to grow internally through all these things.
Yeah, because he's talked publicly before about just like the stress of the work he was doing and like grinding his teeth and losing his hair and like hypertension or whatever, like all this other shit just from the high stress, very default kind of path job he had.
Yeah. And it's the my journey. I want to make money. I like money's great. But I don't that's not my primary goal in life right now. My goal is to keep living a life where I can do creative work I like. I can be connected to myself. I can be connected to kind of work. I can be connected to the people around me. And for me, that's sort of enough. And as long as I have like some sort of life strategy that feels okay financially, I think that's good for me. I sort of playfully adopt this mediocre way. Like, I'm totally fine with like taking a very mediocre way. Like, find stuff I'm good at and just do it like at a mediocre pace. Um, I think that I have an essay around this called "The Way of Mediocre Man," and it has not gone viral because mediocrity triggers everyone in today's world. "Oh, I don't want to be mediocre. Don't be mediocre. Follow my hacks." Um, but I'm fine being mediocre at most stuff and taking a mediocre speed with my writing. And over time, if you do stuff you actually care about, I think that's the way you can transcend this. Like, I really care about my writing. I'm going to put a lot of care into it, and that can lead to interesting results. But yeah, I'm probably not going to be like a seven-figure entrepreneur. That's
Well,
like totally fine.
another thing you've talked about is finding a mode rather than trying to like identify a niche. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Find a niche is how does the world work? Let me fit myself into it. Uh, the career world is basically just different. n- I never know if it's like niche or niche. I think it's both. I think it's just British and American pronunciations. But find a niche is what does the world demand? What is the container I can fit myself into? And then how do I fit into that? Right. So, it, like a much better strategy for me would be just to aim at the niche of being like LinkedIn adjacent future of work guy. So if you just do like future of work trends and like map out how somebody can thrive in their career, you can then get hired by Accenture and Deloitte and 3M and GE and go do the speaking circuit and make $20,000 a speech and be seen as like somebody in that circuit. That'd be much smarter for me financially, but I can't reliably show up as that person. So my goal is to find a mode I can reliably show up with that helps me be satisfied, content, and not burn out on my path. Unfortunately, I am not somebody that's always thinking about money. In fact, I'm rarely thinking about money. And so my mode is not reliable to like make income go up to the right. Um, It does seem to put me in situations where it can go up sometimes, but not reliably up over time. And so now I've found a mode I like to reliably show up in. And so now it's like reasoning from that person, that those practices, and saying, like, given that, what can I do? And that's where I am not opposed to thinking about like making a lot of money, but I want to reason from that state of being that I know I can reliably inhabit.
Hey, real quick. If you want even more psychological insights to transform your business, your life, and yourself, check out the Creator Alchemy newsletter. New issues go out regularly and it's completely free to join. Go to creatoralchemy.com now, and as a thank you for subscribing, you'll unlock the Psychology of Success Masterclass, which is designed to help you build the foundations you need to succeed in life and business. It's based on strategies and insights I've developed over the years that have already helped countless creators all over the world do just that. So I'd love to send it to you too. Just go to creatoralchemy.com to get the newsletter and unlock the first lesson. All right, now back to the show. One piece of that is building around the freedom to write most days, right? And being able
Yeah,
to write books
exactly.
specifically. Why are you so bullish on self publishing?
I'm not. I don't think writing is actually a good way to make money. um I and so I'm only I'm bullish on it because for me, and I know for many other people, and this is why I keep talking about it, I've talked to so many people that have decided to write books or have written books on their own who have taken inspiration from me doing it on my own terms, or started early, or just chosen themselves rather than waiting to get chosen by a publisher. And so I'm bullish on it because it expands the surface area of the interesting people sharing their creative work with the world. Uh, I'm bullish on it because it's literally a PDF, and I was not born into the right family where I could have gotten permission to write a book 30 years ago. I was not born into the right social classes where I would have gotten entry into the right places where I could have gotten a book deal. The world was just much smaller. The internet has just expanded that. You can literally upload a PDF and ship it to anywhere in the world, except maybe 5 countries. I don't know. But you could probably get it there. You can literally upload a PDF and zap an ebook to anywhere in the world. It's awesome. Like, who wouldn't like that? And it's not self-publishing or traditional publishing. Mostly the people that really care about that are the traditional published people because they need the traditional publishing thing to mean something. Um, but it's just a book. A book's a book, a book. Like, they're all the same.
So for
Like
my stuff, so
the
go ahead.
the Bible, the most famous book in the world, right? It's like a collection of letters and like writings from people interpreting the ideas of Jesus and other people throughout history. It was not traditionally published. Right? It's a collection of stuff that eventually was like republished in many other forms.
That's fair.
That's the
So
most like read book in the world.
like you and Nat Eliason, I love like you're just basically like kind of essay duels back and forth about like traditional publishing,
He he's
self-publishing, hybrid
self-publishing
publishing.
now. I won.
I know. I know. I know.
No, but
It's
there is no winning. Um, if I got 300 grand to write one book, like maybe I'd do that. Nobody's offered me a good deal from traditional publishing yet. Everything is context dependent. I know people that have gotten $1 million book deals in our world. If somebody offers me $1 million to write a book, I will probably take the money and traditionally publish it because that will change the trajectory of my family. No one's offering me that. I don't have a big enough audience, right? I'm not somebody like Sahil Bloom. Sahil Bloom has a massive audience and he's way better at marketing and selling ideas than me. He's so good. Um, he can probably get a book deal that's so far beyond what I can, and he has so many more financial resources. Like I'm a nobody with like a small audience, and I love self-publishing because I'm an underdog and like I'm like struggling to get my ideas out there still. And so traditional publishers don't really want someone like me because like I'm not willing to spend tons of money to like market and sell my ideas. Like my books are probably not going to do all that well. My second book has sold not as many as the first one, and who knows if it will ever take off. But I'm writing it because I enjoy writing and I find the practice of writing a book interesting and fun. Actually, Nat is very similar to me. He's fallen in love with writing. And so the game for him now is like, I'm going to write a book regardless. I'm going to figure out the best way to do it. He couldn't get a fiction traditional publishing deal, but I bet if he could and with an interesting person, he'd use that and do it. And so you have to figure out what are you writing, why are you writing, who are you trying to reach, and then who are the partners that could best partner with you. I'm still very early in this. I would bet by the end of my um, writing career, I'll probably have done a traditional publishing deal. I think that industry is going to change. They're going to see authors like me. Like somebody eventually will be smart enough to realize that everyone like the Pathless Path is a very popular book and idea and it could reach a lot more people if they do a print only deal. So far I haven't heard anyone entrepreneurial enough to I haven't connected with anyone entrepreneurial enough to take that bet yet. But it's not an entrepreneurial industry. So for the most part, if I want to be an author entrepreneur, I have to do it on my own.
so I loved reading yours and Nat's stuff back and forth. Because again, like I'm in the process of writing a book. I have been in the process for so long. I'm at like 25,000 words right now. Um, and for me, my book, all of it is one kind of battle tested. I've run multiple cohorts. It's based on a lot of the things I do in coaching and things. So like I know everything in it really resonates. Bookifying it has been the challenging part of like as like if I'm doing a live thing, if somebody can ask a question and I can like workshop it there. A book, somebody can't ask you a question. So you have to anticipate some of those things and like put them into the book itself, right? So that's been a thing I've currently been working on. But I had so battle tested it. I had read all of yours and that stuff. And I was like, well, I still like the idea of if a good traditional deal comes along, I might take it just to have like the team aspect of it and just kind of learning more. And then to kind of just, subsidize some of the process. And at one point, I ended up talking to an agent, and I am going to choose to believe he meant well and was being supportive and wasn't necessarily speaking from himself, but speaking as a representative of what a publisher would probably say.
Well,
But it
that's
was
his
probably,
employer.
yeah,
Agents are employed by publishing houses. That's where they get all their income from. They're not
yes,
literally employed, but that's who pays them. So they're going to think all their thoughts are going to be shaped by the reality of a publishing house.
yes. And the gist of it was one, I didn't feel like he in any way was kind of like excited about the book. And it's like, well, I don't want somebody to represent me who doesn't like excited about the book. But his whole thing was basically it doesn't matter how good the idea is. It doesn't matter how many people you know who will rep it. It doesn't matter how many people have already said they're going to buy it or they love the content and everything else. It doesn't matter who you are and why you're the person to write it. The only thing that matters is how large your audience is.
Yeah.
And
And
he's
I
like, that's
think that's the wrong metric. I think that, well, the publishing industry is always like 3 to 5 years behind what is working. And so, like, audience size doesn't actually matter that much anymore. It can matter if you're a writer that shares ideas in writing form and have readers that love writing. And so I had 3,000 followers, subscribers when I put my newsletter out. Like nobody would have given me a publishing deal. Um, they only wanted to acquire my book once it had readers and it was selling a lot in their database that they were tracking. Um, but they don't care about like finding the best writers and like turning them into great careers. They're just coasting on the internet right now. The entire publishing industry is just trying to like use the internet as a lens to like make bets. And the easiest way is just to like pick all the people with the largest audiences or like most energetic like abilities to like acquire audience and pay for the acquisition of audience, which is happening a lot now. I think like I heard on Jay Klaus was saying on his podcast that he talked to Cody Sanchez and Cody told him that she spent 7 figures to build her audience. I can't compete with that. Like, I would go if I had a publishing house, I would pay her to write a book because I know she's willing to literally lose money to like grow her audience and expand her universe. And so the publishing industry is increasingly going to give book deals to people that can make, especially in the nonfiction space, to people that can make money doing other things. And so if you have a business where you're like running an agency or something and making a lot of money, and maybe a new customer will pay you 30 to 100 grand a year as part of an agency, you're willing to spend your own marketing budget of like, I'll spend $500,000 promoting a book because it will get all this attention. And so like some loser like Paul who like cares about writing and the craft of his ideas and isn't going to spend a lot of money marketing his book, uh, why the hell would you ever work with me? Um, but the internet's massive. The long tail, I have 70,000 people read my book. It's now been translated into like 7 languages. I've partnered with traditional publishers in Taiwan, China, Russia, India, Malaysia. And so it's still so early. So if you find something that works as a self publisher, you can keep reinventing, relaunching, reinvesting, being entrepreneurial as you go. The publisher is not going to care about your book. 2 weeks after it launches. They're going to look at the sales number and say, is this still working? Do uh, stores still care? If not, let's move on to the next 12 books we're launching.
It's a VC model.
Yeah, and that's fine. The thing is, like, there's no there's no antipathy of me toward the industry. I am mad at the industry on behalf of other authors because I see it crush people over and over again. People write a book, it doesn't sell, they're never going to earn out, and they lose interest in writing. That crushes me. I want to increase the creative domestic product of the world. How do we expand the passion for ideas? How do we get rid of the cynicism with creative people? How do we unleash people to do the work they actually care about and do more of it over time? Creative work should inspire more creative work. Right now, many people are turning their creative work into assets for other companies. There's no reason to do that in the age of the internet anymore. You should be optimizing your creative work such that you can do more creative work over time. And so you need to figure out how do you actually want to do that in your life.
Well, and the publishing thing, that also explains why so many shitty books get published because the author had a large audience, but they didn't
Then they
necessarily
have
have
to complete the book.
that, or they get a ghostwriter or something. But also, it's like, but just because you have a large audience doesn't mean they're going to buy your book. And that definitely doesn't mean they're going to buy your second book if your first one sucked, right? But it's like when you walk into a bookstore, you look at Amazon, so many books, the only reason they exist is because the author had a large audience. It wasn't a good book, it was generic or it was something else. And the the other thing, so like I was mentally prepared for all that, and I was leaning towards self-publishing anyway, just for the sheer freedom of it. Because I know like some people, like even Pat Flynn, he's talked about how like his most recent book was like traditionally published after all of his others have been self. And he was like, there were some compromises I didn't want to make, but I had to make because they owned it. I had to
Right.
compromise on, whether it was like the title,
Yeah.
subtitle, cover, shit like that,
Oh,
right?
that would crush me. I mean, in Taiwan, my traditional published cover, like, man, it's I don't like it. And it's so but I didn't have control. It was the only way to get it in Chinese, but man, it's just like it zaps your excitement. It sucks.
But the other thing that I realized, so like during this process, I've talked to a lot of authors, self, hybrid, and traditional, mega best-selling authors, like household name authors for some of these things. And every single one of them, one, told me, "Don't go traditional. You can do this yourself. You know how to market. You have the you have like people who really care about it. You know a lot of people who would love the book. Don't go traditional for those reasons because you give up too much control." But so many of them also said, either for my next book, I'm going to go self or hybrid, or if I knew now what I knew when I signed my traditional deal, I wouldn't have signed it. And I've only heard like one or two people who said they were glad they did traditional, but they also got pretty sizable advances. So like
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It's
But
like,
dude,
"Oh,
like
you had a
so
500,000 to $1 million advance." Like, yeah, of course you like
okay.
traditional publishing because they had a whole team working on the book. I think this is the key is, like, if a traditional publisher is giving you a small advance, like, they're never gonna care about your book. But if they start spending like upward of $1 million, which I know some people have gotten, suddenly you have like a PR budget you can spend because you're making all this money, and then you can hire people, and then the publishing company will invest a lot of resources on it. I honestly think the publishing companies should just publish way less books and go way harder on like a smaller number of books and creators.
So you've done a lot of research on like just the publishing industry itself and things. If and you and I are both really aligned on the whole idea of more people should put themselves and their ideas out there in one way or another. Um, if you were going to solve this issue and make publishing more accessible to creators, writers, authors, whoever, how would you solve that? Because it seems like few people have really solved it for like financial viability.
It's not financially viable. That's the thing. It's art. Like if you're doing a book for making money or lead gen for another business, that's like a different thing. That's commercial products. That's just like selling something, creating something the market wants. I think the kind of books I'm interested in are art. And the only way to do art well is to completely mourn the loss of financial viability from the beginning and say, I am going to let this rip. That doesn't mean ignore what might resonate or what might work, right? Because I have written publicly for many years. I know what resonates with my audience, but I also like writing in those ways. So I am going to play with that and make it something that hopefully will spread, but within limits. It has to be in the container of I actually care about this. I like how I'm writing in this way. For me, I don't like the how to summaries at the end of books. I know readers even like that. Some readers like it. I don't like it as a reader. I like books as a reading experience. I don't want to be told what my action steps are at the end of the book. I want to keep reading. And so I don't do those. I don't want to do those. All these things. And there's like all these moves I just like won't do. So yeah, I mean, my second book, I put a fiction story at the end of the book. I created like a 10-page quote section because I saw that in another book and I liked it. Will that help my book sell? I have no idea. But it's just an artistic choice I had to make. So I don't think it's supposed to be financially viable. Like it's creative work. If you're expect like a lot of writers have this idea my writing deserves to be paid for. Like, no, it doesn't. Writing is one of the greatest privileges in the world. This is creative work. People have died for this throughout history. People have had to pretend to be men because women couldn't write publicly. People got arrested and thrown in jail for writing things. Uh, we have the internet. We can like write and like literally find people that love our stuff online, and that's just such a gift and such a privilege. And so, I don't know. You figure out how to make your life financially viable so you can do the work that matters to you. I think that's how I look at it.
Well, so I'm saying like if you were to start your own like author's equity, Lulu, Scribe, something like that, how like so that because here's the thing, so many
I
people
don't
have
think
a
I
book in them.
could. I don't think I would care enough about the profit to do it. I would really just want to write the best books people could do. I think if somebody wants to give me like $1 million to publish 10 books over the next few years, what I would do is pick writers I already loved or really liked. I think the genre, I'm calling it like memoir ish nonfiction, which is like personal storytelling. Like, tell us what's actually at stake rather than just giving us empty frameworks and you haven't told us how you applied it. Memoir ish nonfiction, I would find authors and I would coach them and just push them hard. Uh, I think I could do it as a writing coach. I just did this with Angie. She just finished her book, and I'm sort of blown away with what she's finished. I think I have a very unique skill set of like being able to synthesize ideas and able to understand like the structural editing and developmental editing of a story and like pushing people to get there if knowing they're capable of. And then um I would probably spend most of the money on like the editing and like pushing people to just write the best possible story of what only they could write. But that might take years for some people. Like, I think you're still working on it because you probably have the sense like, I need more time. I need to keep pushing. I need to keep shaping it. And then selling a book, I have no idea. I think I would mostly spend the majority of the money on gifting books to ideal readers because getting books in bookstores doesn't really matter. That's a specific kind of reader. That's just another way of getting books in front of people's eyes. So I'd print 1,000 books and just try to gift them to the people that want to read the book. And so often people's audiences aren't perfectly aligned with who needs to read the book. So you need to figure out where those readers are and just literally try to get the book in their hands. And that's the whole game. And then once a book takes off, just like keep doubling down on it. That's what I'm doing with the Pathless Path. I'm gonna relaunch the Pathless Path like 5 more times over the next 5 years because people like it and people love sharing it with people. People connect with it, and so I'm just gonna keep doubling down on that.
So with
But if
books,
someone wants to give me $1 million, I would do this.
cool. With books, at a certain point, like ebooks were new, audiobooks were new. What is the next version of like this is a brand new medium format approach that you think is the next step for books?
I think audiobooks are still early. In a place like Taiwan, my publisher didn't even acquire audio rights. Like means people don't even consume audiobooks yet. Audiobooks are the fastest growing segment in English book market right now, and so more innovation on that front. I think AI is going to change a lot. Uh, you're going to have on-device translation and then translation in many different languages. So on-device translation is really interesting. So I could say, even in English, I could say, okay, I want to read Corey's book. I want to get the AI adjustable edition. I'm going to pay $10 more for that. And I'm going to take out all the fucks.
Be a shorter book.
See, so you can adapt it to yours, right? Or yeah, you could like literally change the like style of language. Or I could say, give me it in Chinese. And I want to read it on device in Chinese. Keep it as close to possible of Corey's style of how he's written it. Or uh cut out all the like filler stories. Or add in a filler story. Some people love the filler stories. Make sure you inject a general story about the marshmallow test in the book. That was very popular in the 2010s. Anyone who's read a 2010s pop nonfiction book has read about the marshmallow test dozens of times. And so, yeah, I think readers are going to create their own realities with books. It's going to be really interesting. And this is why I want to retain my rights. When you're signing a nonfiction deal, they're not just acquiring your book, they're acquiring all subsidiary rights to sell to other countries. They're acquiring merchandising rights more commonly now. They're acquiring rights for collectible editions. They're acquiring rights for movies. And so the world of media and technology is so new online. Like, I don't know what's going to emerge, but all the upside is going to be on the things I can't expect yet. And so this is how people like rich. How do you think he got rich? Do you know? Stephen King sold
No.
his paperback for 1,000, or no, he sold his hardcover for $1,000. He did not sell his paperback because publishers thought paperbacks were silly. Paperbacks were like where smut novels sell and romance novels, and it was not a real book. So his book starts taking off, and then a publisher in the UK acquires the paperback rights to Carrie for $400,000 because he still owned them. Nobody wanted the paperback rights. Now, many this legacy of seeing the paperback is not serious still goes on till today. Most books are not available in paperback because they have not sold enough. And the publisher will never put it out in paperback. And the author can't even print it in paperback if they want. I love paperbacks. I literally don't buy hardcovers. And so I know for sure there are people that literally only buy paperback books. So this is insane. There's a market need and the publishers are like, yeah, it's not a serious enough book for us. We're never going to put it out in paperback. There are thousands of printers in Amazon facilities all around the world that can print a paperback and ship it to anyone for free shipping in under 2 days in most parts of the world. And authors can't utilize that technology because they signed away their rights. You got to retain your rights to retain your dynamic upside in a world that's ever changing. And so I know I'm going to write for the next 20 years. So I want to retain the upside of that. If I ever get rich from writing, it will be because I retained my rights and got to cash in some unexpected upside over the next 10 years. So we can play back this clip if that happens.
You again, you kind of optimize for uncertainty, for freedom. You write a lot. When it comes to deciding, especially books, because like books are a meatier, longer term project. How do you decide of all the ideas you could turn into a book, which one is most worth the time and effort for the next book?
Yeah, this is the hardest thing because I've done 2 books now, so everything appears in my head as a book-shaped project. I have, like, 5 drafts open now, which I'm tinkering on, and so, yeah, I'm, like, totally lost. I just follow the energy. So I had this, like, I was calling it, like, Creator's Field Guide, or I know the name of it. I was gonna call it Experiments in Living. And so it probably wouldn't be around experiments now because I think Anne-Laure Lecomte wrote just, like, the perfect titled book for this, Tiny Experiments. That's probably one of my favorite nonfiction books in the last couple of years, mostly just because it's like the book I would never write for the Pathless Path. It's like the nonfiction traditionally published version of it, and it's such a great name, and I just love Anne-Laure. Um, and so it wouldn't be called Experiments Living anymore, but what was the name you said? Like Thriving in Uncertainty? Optimizing for Uncertainty?
Optimizing for uncertainty.
Yeah, maybe it'll be something around this, but it was basically a book of recipes for creating online. But something just felt off about the book, and like I don't know, creating online didn't feel like my thing. So it could be around uncertainty, but I think recipes for uncertainty is one. But then I was writing all these chapters around like my relationship with the work and how I commit to it. And I just spun that out and wrote good work instead. So I abandoned a 50,000 word draft and wrote good work instead. Got really excited about that idea, landed the plane, feel really good about that book. Feels like a smaller idea. I think it's a good complement for the Pathless Path, but may never be as big. And then I had a money section in that original book that I then spun out into this book I'm now tinkering with called Buy Your Freedom. It's about buying your freedom early in your life and how to use money to basically go after the life of your dreams. It's sort of a remix on fire, not make a lot of money such that you can escape work, make enough money such that you can start searching for the work that matters to you much sooner in your life. Basically, what you've done, what many people have done, like just saving up enough money to give you the runway to then start shifting in a new direction. And then, yeah, I have a smaller book about like early retirement throughout history, or like people that are escaping work throughout history. I might publish that soon. I have this other one called Scenes from Asia that is just like journal entries of living in different places around the world. I don't know. I think I need to find like a partner. Like I need to find like a really good editor I could partner with. Um that could be more of a project manager too, but I haven't found that person yet. We'll see. I'm a bit lost right now, so I don't really have a good answer for what book will be formed. But I would really like to publish something in 2026.
When you had Lawrence on, one of the things you said was, I think if everything you're doing is working, you're either some sort of genius or you're probably not taking enough risk.
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Yeah, if everything is working, you're usually either really well wired for what the world wants. Like you do meet these people sometime, they seem to just succeed at everything and seem to be like a perfectly designed uh capitalism machine. And like, oh, it's so easy to make money. It's like, no, you were born with the interests that capitalism wants right now. Like capitalism is an evolving system, and like I don't seem perfectly wired for that. Like if you're really passionate about finance and born in today's world, that's a really nice interest and passion to have. I like finance and money, but like not that much. um, And so risk is basically just trying new things. That's what I mean by risk. People associate risk with failure, but risk does not need to be failure. Risk could just be risking discomfort. Risk could be risking things not working. But risk does not need to mean losing a lot of money. Example, I was feeling a bit stagnant over the past couple of years, and like one thing I decided to do is this premium hardcover of the Pathless Path. I spent about $80,000 on this project. It ended up being a little more expensive. I basically because I did notebooks and ended up spending a little more money on illustrations and some slip cases, but I never was at risk truly in a financial sense. I funded it from some of the royalties I got from my book that I put more in savings and from cash flow from my business, from all the other things I do as well. So it was never truly risky. Uh, this year, I might spend a little more. I might um, make a little less profit from my business than I spend in my life. So I might have to like dip into personal savings, like maybe a little, but it was still risky, like emotionally, like not knowing if it would succeed. It was a different approach than I was taking in the past, but I've still learned things. And now I have all these different ways of thinking about my business going forward. I have this notebook I created. I could potentially create like other project products in the future and things like that. And so yeah, risk is just like trying new things. And so if you're not trying new things, like life is going to try new things on you anyway. So you might as well lean into it.
I like that. But I think the whole like taking risks and uncertainty and what if this doesn't work out? How will I deal with it? What if everything goes to zero? What if I make the wrong decision or I go all in on the wrong thing? All of that is uncertainty. But the other thing with you, man, is one, you're very practical with certain things, right? Because like you have your
Yeah,
business
very.
and you have savings and all this other stuff, and you monitor those things. But the other thing is you have a longer time horizon with certain things. So like with the premium hardcover, you weren't trying to like make a profit in the first like 2 weeks of launch or something. You're like, this is an asset. I'm this is it's fine if it takes a minute because of that long tail.
Right. Yeah, I did that because I had multiple years of my book being out in the world. I saw that it kept selling. I've never had a day when I didn't sell a copy of The Pathless Path. It's resonating in other languages now. Like somebody translated my book in another language. It's not a perfect translation either, but it's working. The book is resonating with people. People are having the same reaction in Chinese as they did in English. I've had people in Russian have the same reaction. And so, okay, this is a working product. This is a product that's still bringing in money every month, and what's a way of me doubling down on it in a direction that fits for the way I operate? Uh, Plus, I now have many years in this path. How could I? How? What does it look like for Paul to be bolder? I know what bolder looks like for people doing things like us. It looks like launching a big course and charging a lot of money for that or something. But what is the Paul version of what's the move only I can make? And so making money from a book became this really interesting idea because I see so many people writing the book for other things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Books can be great for like selling coaching, for example. Like it's actually smart for you to have a book because people will then want to work with you if they really like the book. Right? Somebody who finishes your book is going to be a perfect client. And so, but making money from books for me is really exciting. And it's also a way for me to practice what I preach. Like, how could I make a book that's sort of uneconomical? I could sell way more copies of this if I made smarter decisions at the margin. Maybe a little less illustrations, get rid of the slip cover, um, do it in China, uh, even if they might copy it and sell it on their own, and make it a cheaper book. I could sell way more and do that. But then I was like, well, what if I do $100 book and treat this like as an art project, and it's not meant to sell a lot of copies, and then I might sell out the first 2,500 and then never sell it again because that would be fun. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm just still figuring out what it is. So yeah, it's been a fun project. It's very triggering for me money wise, but that's all like material for me too.
Part of success in these realms comes with a degree of notoriety. People know you, your audience starts to grow. People might feel that they know you and come up to you and start talking to you like they know you, but you've never met them. And one of the things I see a lot of people who have niche fame to any degree, it's almost like you could develop trust issues. And this was another thing you and Lawrence were talking about of basically sometimes it can be hard to get to know people because it's like, are they trying to get to know me or are they do they see me as a means to an end? Do they see me as something else, right? And the thing you said it's kind of like dating when you don't have any money. You can sort of trust that the other person's into you for the right reasons, right? As you've published these books, you've gained attention, you've been on some stages, you've done I mean, what is it like? I know Ali did a video on your book, Mark Manson did it too. So like your name has been mentioned in multiple places. How are you navigating that?
I'm mostly not. I'm not really. I had one stretch where I decided I would reach out to like famous podcasters and more famous people and try to get their attention. Um 98% of that didn't work. I think cuz I don't thrive in that mode. I sort of thrive when I'm just working on my own by myself and just putting out energy that other people gravitate to. And I've tried to just shift back to that mode. The reason Mark Manson got my book is because I sent my friend John uh, 10 of my books because he told me he'd been gifting it to people. And he's just like a really interesting other creator that I was really inspired by. He has a YouTube channel called World of Nuance. So I sent him books. He then got an internship working for Mark Manson and then like foisted the book upon him. And so this is awesome. That's exactly that is how it and so this is how things happen for me. Like actual readers share my work with other people. Me connecting with other creators, especially the more driven, hustly types, it just doesn't work cuz like I'm not like them. I can't pretend to be like them. I don't know how to interface with their games. I don't know. I I didn't actually try to reach out to big podcasts. I The only thing I tried to do with this premium hardcover, I reached out to people that had already shared my work or I had already shared their work and we had built a relationship and I just said like, "Hey, this would be cool. Do you want to do something?" And so I haven't done like much publicity or promotion around it in the like traditional like partner with other creators type stuff. It mostly 98% of the sharing of my book has come from people just proactively sharing it on their own or asking if they wanted me to share it. And I mostly don't ask people. Even if I send them my book, there's no expectation that they ever share it. I don't care. I just want them to receive the gift and feel good by it. Like some people do share it and it's awesome. Um, but yeah, there's no expectation. And I'm not wired like the more driven creator types, and that's probably going to limit my growth, and that's okay. Um, I'm just a little too disagreeable, and I can't just like play the game. Uh, and so, yeah, I rather play the long game with people like you. I think we both got to know each other. Like, I mean, before some of the like takeoff happened, I think we met in Austin before my book had taken off, right? I
So
don't
I
even
think
know,
if
but
if
at
I
least
remember,
in person, like, I just act normal with people, and, like, even if somebody tries to put me on a pedestal, I will take myself off and just act normal. Like And so most of my interactions with like normal readers and stuff are actually fantastic because I don't pretend to be anyone else in my book, and then I just am like that in person too.
Think we kind of met on Twitter back when it was Twitter. Um, and at a certain point, you gifted me the Pathless Path, and I had read your writing before, so I was familiar with a lot of the concepts.
How
And
did
I
I gift
told,
it to you? Did I
like,
just send it to you? Did you ask
yeah,
for it, or nice?
I think
That's awesome.
you like offered. I was like, dude,
Yeah, I'm
would
always
love the book.
offering it.
Yeah, like this is the copy you gifted me. Um,
Hell yeah.
and one, I told Rochelle about it, my now wife. And Rochelle tells me all the time, like, you and I are responsible for her leaving academia. Like, she finished her PhD, like she just finished it. And partway through, she realized she didn't want to do it. And she had seen me like do the creator entrepreneur thing a little bit, but then she read the Pathless Path. And she was basically like, fuck, like I can't keep doing this. Like I want to go off and do this other thing. So she kind of blames the two of us in different ways for that. Um, but the other thing, man, is not a week goes by that I don't recommend your book to at least a few people. Like I rep your book so fucking hard for somebody who didn't actually buy the book. Like you gifted me one copy. I rep it
This
so fucking
is
much.
awesome.
Cause like, dude, like it's legitimate. Like it's the type of book that should be like a foundational book that is just part of like, here's how to be a better human. Here's just like life curriculum shit. Read The Pathless Path. It is one of the books of the curriculum of life. It is one of the books you should read. And that's honestly, that's how I frame it to so many people.
So, this is what I've experienced. I've Through some magic process, I wrote a book that people have this reaction to. I feel tremendously blessed people have this reaction to. After 4 years, I've seen this kind of reaction from enough people that this is why I focus on the readers. Because the game, if there is a game, is finding people like you. And so I would actually pay to have someone like you read the book, which I essentially did. I paid postage and the cost of the book to get you the book. Um, but people like you are uh, the nodes that will recommend my book. The game of a book is you want people to buy the book, finish the book, and then recommend and share the book. The trap of traditional publishing and author world is that people start trying to get other authors to share their work. I will definitely share your book, but if it's not um, the book that like speaks to my soul and it's not the right book for the right time in my life, maybe I'll share it once or twice. But if you find the right person who it speaks to them, they're going to share your book infinite times. And so you're better off finding random reader X who shares your book 1,000 times over the next 3 years than trying to befriend influencers and other authors, because other authors are getting tons of books sent to them all the time. And so the reason I actually gifted Ali 10 of my books because, and so I didn't care if he shared it at all. I didn't ask him once to share the book, and he didn't for like 9 months. I think he did one video with his brother, but he was the number one supporter on my Gumroad presale. He did $100 for my presale. So he was the number one. And there was another guy that put in 50. And so I sent each of them 10 books. Mostly because I was just trying to ask myself, like, how do I receive this gift? This is so generous. I need to like give them a lot of books. And he started handing his book out to like all his employees, and like everyone that reads the book on his team, like then quits his team. And so some people though have joined his team after reading my book, which is good. Happy I'm helping him grow the team. But he just happened to be a reader that was quitting his job at the same time he read it too, and happened to have a big YouTube audience. And so he's been somebody I'll like send my stuff to, but like it's my future books like may or may not resonate with him. I'm like, so what? I need to like I'm just gonna share my book with people that want to read it. And so I just try to value those people that read it. I've spent a lot of time in Taiwan. I've probably spoke to 300 people over the last 2 months that have read my book in Taiwan. And I'm just like, I treat everyone the same. Like, I'm just curious about them and I actually enjoy it. It works for me because I actually love the readers who read my book. And hearing about you and Rochelle making these changes in your life, like that's the best. I love it. And I don't care if you share my book or ever talk about it. Um, but like if you want like more free copies, I can send you some to gift to people. That's basically
Cool.
my strategy.
Well, just I mean, dude, like you're like sort of like guerrilla marketing, like guerrilla gifting is so
Yeah, I'm
smart
not
and
naive.
so
I want to
authentic.
spread my books. I want to spread my books. I want it to sell a lot of copies, but in my own mode. And I love gifting my book. Other authors don't believe in that. Like, I think that's stupid. But yeah, I like it. It's genuine and I love like commenting on random Twitter posts of people quitting their job and say like welcome to the pathless path. Happy to gift you a book. I'll just do that 1,000 times over the next 10 years.
But you also, like you said, like when you talk to your reader, you're curious. You ask them like, "What about the book resonated?" Whatever. And I remember you and Rochelle were talking. We were hanging out in Austin, and you asked her. I forget how you said it, but she was basically like, "I reread it every year. It's become part of like my routine of, every year there are a small handful of books I reread because every year I'm a different person." And you were like, why do you reread books? Why do you reread my book specifically? Like, I didn't necessarily think about
I
it
don't
being like a reread.
yeah. Well, it just surprised me because I do reread books. I've reread Tuesdays with Maury multiple times. I've reread Vagabonding. But yeah, I think I've heard this from I just met someone in Taiwan. He's like, "I've read your book 3 times." And it's like, "What? Why?" That's like I've only reread The Pathless Path once or twice since I published it.
Why do you think people reread it?
It's a permission slip to myself, and it became a permission slip to other people. Uh, so I was really uncertain about my path early on. I wasn't uncertain about wanting to stay on the path. I was so confident I wanted to stay on the path, but I was very uncertain and not feeling good about the journey. And so a lot of my writing was just saying to myself, "Keep going, Paul. Like you're onto something. You have this inner fire inside of you that you lost track of in your 20s and you're rediscovering it and this matters. And you're not default built for the default world." And so you can be a weirdo. You can do it on your own terms. It's okay. And I believe in you and I'm rooting for you. And yeah, that I was doing that for myself and like as I've become more confident in myself, I've realized I can do that for other people. And so I genuinely want people to make it. Like I I really care. Like I want people to find their own path because I know how hard it was for me given all my advantages and privileges. Like I mean, getting to know someone like you, like I know how many challenges you had growing up. It's like, man, hell yeah. Someone like Corey can make it. Like, hell yeah. And like it's just it's so good. And
Love
people
it.
here's one test. I asked people this recently. Do you wish you grew up with wealthy parents or parents that loved you abundantly? And everyone's taken the second one. Even if they already grew up with that, like money's interesting, but like most of the journey of life is like learning to love ourselves more and finding ways to love ourselves, like the love we wish we had growing up.
Yeah, because like I grew up without much in the way of financials, but my parents were always present. And
Yeah, that's
I am
awesome.
forever grateful for that. Yeah. Because like my parents were even like, hey, I don't necessarily know how to help you with this, but I know you are capable. And just like that permission, that trust, that empowerment goes so much farther than money for so many people. Love it.
Yeah, and that was probably very rare in the place you grew up.
Yeah. And especially even just like getting older and like meeting other people, it's like, oh fuck, like I had something so many other people wish they had. But growing up, I was like, oh, I wish we had more money. It's like actually I got so much more out of my upbringing than I would have with just money. Yeah.
Yeah, you would have had different stuff to work through.
For sure. Dude, this has been so good. I'm so grateful you decided to hang out for a couple hours with me and share so candidly.
Yeah, this is great.
I love what you do so much. You are such again like you are a friend, but you are also an inspiration. And I rep your shit all day every day. Any parting words for listeners?
I feel like we said a lot.
This is a dense episode.
Yeah, if you want a yeah, if you want a gift copy of the Pathless Path like Corey, happy to gift you one. And yeah, I now have the collectible edition of the Pathless Path for sale. Most stuff's on pathlesspath.com, but the parting words are to if you are somebody that must find a different way. Actually, like, you probably are if you made it this long in a podcast. You're normal. You're normal in a weird way like me, and just dream bigger and trust yourself. Find ways to love yourself more deeply and find the others and give yourself permission to go on your own journey.
Awesome. Where can people go to find you and learn more?
Yeah, pathlesspath.com or pmillard.com. Pretty easy to find on the internet.
Cool. And I have links below. Dude, this was so fucking awesome. Thank you so very much. Also, one more thing before you go. If you enjoyed this episode, there are two things you can do to share the wealth. One, send this episode to someone who needs to hear this message and tell them why it was so impactful for you. Two, take like literally 3 seconds to either like or leave a hopefully 5-star review, but be honest because there's a lot of fluff and bullshit out there, and people are looking for content that's actually valuable. So a little social proof from people like you giving the show a good review goes a long way. Thanks for listening/watching. And until next time, take it easy.